Hey guys, James Wilson-Taylor here for Rock Sound. It's another of our video calls where we catch up with everyone while we're all stuck at home at the minute. But I'm delighted to say from Jimmy, well, Jim's on the line. How are you, man?
Kicking a whole lot of ass.
Good to hear. That's a good, strong attitude to have midweek as we're now recording. That's good. You're hanging in there very, very well.
Yeah, for everything getting canceled, I'm surprisingly very, very busy.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. You're not the first person to have said that. It's weird how as soon as you have a lot of downtime, you suddenly end up filling it with all the stuff you'd meant to do from before, right?
Yeah, I think I'm just sort of the person that will overextend themselves no matter what the external circumstances are. So, of course.
Yeah, fair enough. Makes sense, man. Makes sense. Well, on that note, let's start off with, one of the main reasons I wanted to talk to you today is this new podcast. Congrats on that. You started off at the time of recording. We've seen obviously the first episode with Mark Hoppus and Steve Aoki's gone out and stuff. I take it this may have been one of those projects that maybe it was just about finding the time. Have you thought about doing this for a long while?
Yeah, something like this I've wanted to get into for a while. I'm just fascinated by the craft of songwriting and the creative process in general. And, I am buddies with a lot of people whose work I really respect. And, it's like whenever we get together anyway, it's like, there's two questions we always end up getting to. It's like, how did you do that cool thing? And how do you get past writer's block? And so, this is the kind of thing I would talk about with my friends anyway. And I figured it's, since I do have time, why not give it a shot?
Oh, absolutely. I've loved seeing people like yourself just kind of turn their hand to these creative projects in this time and that way. And an interesting choice of first guest as well with Mark Hoppus, who's, of course, you've known for years and years and years, but it was a really fascinating conversation to watch, as you say, to kind of, I guess you were contemporaries in a way. You really did come up at the same time there, just kind of exchanging notes on various moments through the years. I mean, talk to me about why you thought, Mark, that's guest number one.
Well, because, I do have a history with them, and it was sort of, I knew I could have like a fun conversation. If it sucked, at least it would be a fun conversation, because I know him. So there's that.
Yeah, that makes sense for sure. That makes sense for sure. And, we can see already just in the ones that have gone out, obviously Steve Aoki. And then what I find really interesting is you're going to be going in depth on some of your own songwriting as well, which is really interesting. Again, why did you decide to do that, to kind of lift the veil on individual songs?
I think as a fan, I'm interested in that kind of thing. And it's just another thing to try. I feel like we haven't taken advantage of communicating directly with fans like we could, because we're always so busy either touring. And when I'm touring, it's like that's all I'm doing. That's what I'm focused on. That's what it takes all of my kind of concentration to do that, and emotional commitment. And of course, when we're recording and when we're writing and we're making albums, it's all in there. So now that I do have some time, and our tour dates are, this year has been put into next year, I figured that's another thing to try doing, is just sort of get into the weeds with songs.
Yeah. Is there any, I saw it's 23 is the one that will have gone out by the time people see this, but
yes.
Is there other songs, like, do you have a master list already of like, that's one I kind of want to revisit, or, okay, just taking them as they come?
Yeah. Yeah. It's just sort of, if there's something interesting or an idea pops, I'm just chasing ideas right now.
Sure.
I don't know how many of these I'm going to make or how deep I'm going to go, or, I could make an hour and a half long thing about like one song, or like a 30-second thing about one song. I don't know. There's no rules.
Yeah, that's kind of what's fun about it, I guess, is you can just try loads and loads of different stuff. Do you have any other ideas in mind then? Because we got the interviews in there. We got some deep dives on some songs. Have you got any other things you want to try in this kind of new way?
I think maybe combining the two into talking about like an album, like an entire album, would be kind of cool. Like doing interviews with the people we've worked with on the record, but also including, getting into like soloing tracks, because it's pretty gnarly. I mean, especially with some of the material on Futures, that was definitely a maximal phase for us, where more was more. And to go through and like listen to things and mute tracks and just solo things, we put a lot of care into what every little thing sounded like, and in the end, you don't necessarily hear the details. So it'd be kind of fun to go in there and show the inner workings of the sausage being made.
Yeah, definitely for fans, that'd be a really, really interesting thing to check out for sure. And I'm glad you mentioned Futures there, because I don't know if you saw, speaking of your, first guest, Mr. Hoppus there, caused a bit of a stir on Twitter the other week, which I think quite a few of us and a few band members and stuff all laid into. He made the bold claim that Clarity is definitively the best Jimmy Eat World album. And he will not have anyone say otherwise. And I think who was it? Like Alex Gaskarth from All Time Low was like, I think you spelled Futures wrong and all these kind of things. But I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that? Do you play favorites in that way at all?
I don't play favorites. No,
not as much. Yeah,
I try not to. It's silly. It's sort of. You can't. I mean, like, I guess as a musician, you're always most excited about the thing you just did. So at the moment, the surviving material is kind of like on the top of my list, but that'll go away as soon as I write something new. It'll be that. So we just try to do our best work, and look, when we're looking back, you can respect, even though your tastes might have changed and what you know about making records and your technical ability might have changed, hopefully for the better. You can look back and say, academically appreciate your younger self for those factors,
Sure. Yeah, no, it makes sense. And of course, you're always, I think you're far from alone in that. Every musician always is going to be most excited about the thing they've just produced and are just getting out there as well, because it's fresh and new and exciting. And speaking of that last record, I guess obviously tour got a bit curtailed there, but it had been out there a while. You'd kind of been able to get out there and play it live and all that kind of stuff. The fans had reacted to it and everything. How do you feel about how that all went and those fan reactions? It seemed like it was really positively received by the fans.
Yeah. The 27 shows we did were great.
More than quite a few people, to be fair. You did pretty well.
You know what? The PRYZM gig we did in London was probably one of my favorites of all time anyway. So, like, at least we got that. Like, I know not a lot of people came to that because it was a smaller venue for what we normally do if we were doing our headlining gig, but that was awesome. That was really cool. I would have kept playing if I would have known things have gone this way.
What was it? Was it just the vibe of being in one of those rooms again?
Yeah, just the vibe and the energy in the room, and people were excited. And, the people that came out to those gigs we did are, they're paying attention and they're excited to see what we're up to. And it was really great getting a chance to play for them.
Yeah, absolutely. You had quite a few great little UK live moments, actually, just at the beginning, before everything got curtailed. I remember one of the last times we chatted to you was at Gunnersville, the first time that festival had ever happened. Yeah. And I know Yumi, who were headlining, were absolutely delighted that you guys agreed to kind of come there and be that sub-headliner slot. How was that for you as well?
That was an awesome time. It was like perfect weather, Yeah. It was like, it's just great. Like, I love stuff like that.
Yeah, it's cool when a lineup like that comes together of all those bands that kind of really, especially like I say, for Yumi at Six, who looked up to you guys for such a long time. They were delighted to have you there.
Yeah, it was awesome. I can't. Hopefully, we'll get a chance to do something like that again.
Hey, fingers crossed, man. Fingers crossed. Well, it's funny, like looking towards the kind of live calendar. I know things getting rescheduled and everything, but I guess another one that people were very, very excited about. Speaking of, playing alongside these other legendary bands, you were meant to be opening up for My Chemical Romance for two of their, like, one of the first dates on that reunion tour, which, we hope will still, those will get rescheduled at some point and all that kind of stuff. But I'm curious, I presume that's a band that you've come across many times over the years and had run-ins with and everything. Are you friends with those guys? How did that come together?
I probably know Gerard the best out of that crew. Yeah, I mean, we've just always been fans of each other, and if they ask, we're gonna say yes. I mean, like, why not? It's super rad. It was just a really, I don't know exactly how that came together, but it felt like a natural thing, I guess.
Yeah, it really did.
We were really excited to be a part of that. Like that was going to be awesome.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed we'll get to see it again soon. And you mentioned briefly there, about maybe looking to the future and, you'll be less excited about the last record when you've written the next one. How are you doing in terms of writing? Have you had much of a chance while you've been at home to actually write, or is it just all a bit up in the air at the minute?
No, I've been working on the same song for 4 months now.
Oh wow. Really?
It might be time to try something different.
How far through are you with it? Is it verse and chorus, or we got the whole thing there?
No, I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say like how complete is this? Because until it's done, it's not anything. You know, it's not a question of like I just have this much more to go. It's like either done or it's a zero. You know what I mean? It's like it's either in progress, because progress could happen really quickly, or you could be fighting a puzzle for a really long time, but it's nothing until that puzzle's solved.
Right. No, I get that. It's either incomplete or it's complete. Such is the nature of it.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to gauge. Like, well, I only have this much more to go on it, because like I don't know how much more that is.
Is it one you're enjoying playing around with, though? I mean, I guess it must have something there if you're spending that much time.
Yeah. No, I'm excited for it. I think it's got potential for sure, but I don't know. It's one of those things. I think like the doing the podcast thing is something that I can execute and I can stay busy with, and it keeps my imagination going. And I think maybe in a little while, like the inspiration will catch up to the action. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll finish that. I'll finish it soon.
Well, it looked like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, was that your home studio that you filmed those episodes in? When you were doing the...
Oh, that's our band headquarters.
Right. Okay. It's a beautiful setup. I was wondering if that was in your actual homestead or if that's a place you guys have separately there. Yeah.
No, I wish. But it's not far, so I can just drive there and work whenever I want.
How has it been communicating with the guys generally, actually? Because it's funny, we've seen some bands I've chatted to where they're in the middle of writing the next record and kind of started it before quarantine and stuff. And they're now having to hold writing sessions over Zoom and stuff like that. Have you guys tried working remotely together? Or I guess now you're presumably able to go to the studio and stuff together.
Yeah. We can do okay remotely. We're pretty competent at trading working remotely with computer stuff, or sending ideas around, and then somebody adds to it, and then they send it around. You know, we're pretty confident with that. But we have gotten together at the studio in a cautious, sort of sensible way. You know, it's not all my guys are pretty. Everyone's taking this seriously, and I do have a little bit of faith and trust that that if I hang out with them, I'm okay. Yeah, sure. I'm not picking something up to bring it to them either. So
yeah, no, you just got to do what you can in this kind of weird time, haven't you? Got to find the best and safest way to work together. Of course, that's just the way we're all going to have to be in the new normal, as everyone keeps calling it. I do want to ask you as well, just on the podcast note, then. You say you don't necessarily have a plan. You have some things planned out, but you're open to ideas and open to trying lots of different stuff there. Is there a kind of wish list in terms of the people you want to get on there? Are there friends of yours you particularly want to have those conversations with? Any people you've admired? Who are you kind of looking to line up?
I don't know. At this point, I mean, it'd be nice to it'd be nice to start asking strangers, because like up until now, I just have some kind of passing connection with the people that I've had on, and I feel like to start branching it out into Strangerville, it'd have to be people that I have like a relationship with their work.
Sure, of course.
Like it'd be nice to talk to Eric Bachman from Archers of Loaf and Crooked Fingers, just because I'm a big fan of his. It'd be nice to talk to like David Gedge, because I'm a big Wedding Present fan. Actually, Charlie XCX would be great, because I'm a super big fan of her.
She is awesome,
and I think it'd be fascinating to talk to someone like her who's like in the more pop world, but like subversive pop, in a way. You know, it's like it's definitely not lowest common denominator, but it's celebrating the undeniable aspects of pop.
Yeah, well, and again, it's got to be interesting for you talking to people like, you know, if you end up talking to someone like her, in the same way that when you had that conversation with Steve Aoki, obviously he's worked with people within the sort of same kind of genre world that Jimmy operates in. But he's traditionally, obviously, EDM DJ, and he's worked in all kind of manner of different genres. And yet there's still quite a bit of common ground in terms of, you know, working practices or terms of experiences here and there. Yeah, that must be kind of interesting to see where those commonalities are with different guests like that.
Yeah, I think what I'm really fascinated with is the elements where the creative process kind of crosses over and mixes with the fundamentals of everything else in your life. You know, because like the getting over the internal judgment and to take action. Like that's really, that's a huge part of the creative process, but also that's a huge part of like almost every decision in your life, you know. So it's like the whole life elements that you're focusing on to be a successful human during the course of your regular day isn't that far off from the fundamentals of the creative process and coming up and trying to work in music, or trying to work in visual arts, or trying to work in, you know, film or anything. You know, there's a lot more in common with people and their differences in how they execute it might be really different, but I think like the fundamentals of where everything is coming from and the battles that go on there to get something done are pretty similar.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see. I'm going to be very intrigued to keep watching these conversations, man, because I think particularly seeing, you know, who you've got in the pipeline, all that kind of stuff, I think will be really interesting to see you talk to strangers, as you say, and find those little things. It's going to be cool.
That'll be weird, but yeah, it'll be fun, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Something new.
Fun. Well, yeah, it's always good to chat to you, man. It's always good to see people trying, you know, different stuff in quarantine while you got the time, like we've said. And yeah, just all the best to you, all the best to the guys, all the best to the family in this weird time. And we look forward to seeing you in the UK when that is allowed for some shows and stuff.
I can't wait, man. Thank you so much.
No, always a pleasure, man. All right, Jim, everybody.